Caravaggio, the killer who created modern art. This is the face of a monster, a giant slain by a hero, but it is also the face of the painter himself, a self-portrait as the villain, offered up as a desperate plea for his own life. This is the story of Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio, the man whose violent life and dark soul didn't just create beautiful art, they invented modern painting. At the end of the 16th century, Rome was the center of the art world, a magnet for ambitious young painters. But the art they were expected to create was idealized, noble, and divine, following the lofty traditions of the High Renaissance. Then, a young man from the north arrived. His name was Michelangelo Merisi, but he would become known by the name of his hometown, Caravaggio. He was arrogant, rebellious, and breathtakingly talented, and he had no interest in painting gods and saints as perfect ethereal beings. He wanted to paint them as he saw people in the real world, flawed, dirty, and dangerously human. Look at one of his early Roman works, Bacchus. This isn't the majestic Roman god of wine. This is a teenager from the streets, dressed up in a sheet, lounging on a dirty mattress. Caravaggio's friend Mario Minetti is thought to be the model. The god has a farmer's tan, pale on his chest and ruddy on his hands and face. And look closer at his fingernails. They're dirty. The fruit in his basket is not perfect. It's overripe, bruised, with wormholes in the apple and wilting leaves. This was revolutionary. Caravaggio was rejecting the classical idealism of his time and pioneering a radical naturalism, painting the world with all its imperfections. He was painting the truth. He found his subjects not in classical mythology, but on the streets of Rome. In The Fortune Teller, a foppishly dressed young man looks curiously at a gypsy girl as she reads his palm. He's captivated, blushing with embarrassment and hope. But while he's lost in her gaze, she's slyly, almost imperceptibly, slipping the ring from his finger. It's a quiet moment of human drama, of charm and deceit, captured with a psychologist's eye. This was Caravaggio's world, a world of taverns, card sharps, and brawls. His biographer noted that after a fortnight of work, he would swagger about for a month or two with his sword at his side, ever ready to engage in a fight or argument. This was a dangerous man. He was arrested repeatedly for everything from carrying a sword illegally to throwing a plate of artichokes at a waiter. And that same volatile, spontaneous energy defined his technique. He painted directly onto the canvas, forgoing the careful preparatory drawings that were standard practice. His art, like his life, was raw and immediate. In 1599, thanks to his powerful patron, Cardinal Francisco del Monte, Caravaggio received his first major public commission, 3 large canvases for the Contarelli Chapel depicting the life of St. Matthew. It was the opportunity that would make him a superstar. And it was here that he would unleash his most powerful weapon, darkness. This is the calling of St. Matthew. The scene is not a heavenly landscape. It's a shadowy, grimy Roman tax collector's office. A group of men dressed in contemporary clothes are hunched over a table counting money. On the right, Christ enters, almost hidden in the gloom. He points, his hand a direct quotation of Adam's in Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, casting Jesus as the second Adam, come to redeem humanity. But it's the light that changes everything. Artists had long used contrasts of light and shadow, a technique called chiaroscuro. But this was something new, something more extreme. This is Tenibrism. Tenibrism isn't just shadow, it's a profound, oppressive darkness that consumes the scene. And out of that darkness, a single, sharp beam of divine light cuts across the room. It follows Christ's gesture, illuminating the dust in the air and striking the face of the bearded tax collector, Levi, who points to himself in disbelief, asking, "Who, me?" In that moment, he becomes Matthew, the apostle. Caravaggio makes the divine physically real, a tangible force entering the everyday world. The painting was a sensation, and Caravaggio became the most famous painter in Rome overnight. His work grew darker and more violent, mirroring the increasing turmoil of his own life. In Judith beheading Holofernes, he depicts the biblical story of the Jewish widow who saves her people by assassinating an enemy general. He chooses the most brutal, climactic moment. Judith, beautiful but resolute, pulls back in disgust even as she saws through Holofernes' neck. Blood spurts onto the white sheets. Her elderly maidservant strains forward with a bag for the head. It's a theater of horror, a masterpiece of psychological drama captured with unflinching realism. Even in his most sacred works, this raw physicality is present. The Entombment of Christ was painted for a burial chapel, designed to be seen from below. The composition is a powerful diagonal, a cascade of mourners lowering the body of Christ not into a tomb, but onto a stone slab that juts out into our space, as if offering the body to us at the altar. Christ's body isn't ethereal. It's the heavy, muscular corpse of a laborer. The figures are common people. Their grief is palpable and real. Caravaggio brings the spiritual down to our level, making it tangible, heavy, and heartbreaking. For years, Caravaggio's powerful patrons had protected him from his violent life, but on May 29, 1606, his temper went too far. In a brawl, possibly over a tennis match or a debt, Caravaggio stabbed and killed a man named Ranuccio Tomassoni. This time, there was no escape. He was sentenced to death. A fugitive with a price on his head, Caravaggio fled Rome, never to return. He spent the last 4 years of his life on the run, moving between Naples, Malta, and Sicily, desperately seeking a papal pardon. In Malta, he painted his largest masterpiece, the Beheading of St. John the Baptist, in exchange for being made a Knight of Malta, which he hoped would give him immunity. In the vast, dark emptiness of the canvas, he signed his name for the only time in his career, in the blood pouring from John's neck. But even here, his temper betrayed him. He got into another fight, was imprisoned, and expelled from the order. His final works are filled with a profound sense of despair and a desperate hope for redemption. Which brings us back to this painting, David with the Head of Goliath. It was likely painted in his final year and sent to Cardinal Supino Borghese, a powerful man with the Pope's ear, as a plea for a pardon. The young David is not triumphant. He looks on with an expression of pity and sadness, and the head of the slain Goliath is Caravaggio's own. It is a painted confession. On the David's sword, an abbreviation is inscribed, Hsos, which scholars believe stands for the Latin phrase humilitas occidit superbium, humility kills pride. It was a final, desperate gamble. The artist portrays himself as both the sinner, Goliath, and the agent of divine justice, David, enacting his own punishment and begging for mercy. In 1610, hearing a pardon was imminent, Caravaggio set sail for Rome. He never made it. He died of a fever on a lonely beach, just days from his goal. Caravaggio's life was short, violent, and tragic, but his legacy is immeasurable. He ripped art from its idealized pedestal and plunged it into the darkness and light of the real world. He gave his figures weight, his saints doubt, and his shadows meaning. He showed that the sacred could be found in the profane, and that great art could be born from a troubled soul. What is your favorite Caravaggio painting? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to explore more stories of art and controversy, make sure to subscribe.